About 2,000 years ago, Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar posed a strange and vague hypothetical in the Talmud. What if the older generation, he asks, tells you to demolish while children tell you to build? What should you do? Who should you listen to? Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar's answer, Sator v'al tivneh, demolish and don't build. Listen to the older generation because their destruction is actually constructive, while the building of children is actually destructive. So much for the children are our future. Now, I happen to trust the younger generation and distrust the older generation a bit more than Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar. We probably have different lived experiences. But his hypothetical question highlights an ideological debate between destructive and constructive voices that has been going on for at least 2,000 years. These days, it seems the voices that say, demolish and don't build, are winning out. Here in Washington, D.C., we are at the epicenter of the destruction being caused by the wrecking ball that is our current administration. We are living in ground zero. We are seeing up close our country being gutted from the inside out. Everything that's on the front page of the news is happening in our backyard. Everyone in D.C., everyone in this room knows someone immediately affected by the dismantling of our government, and let's be clear, also the dismantling of our country as we know it. Amidst so much senseless and careless destruction, it is hard not to succumb to hopelessness and despair. It is hard not to hear the voice for demolition as the only voice and the only outcome. But we cannot forget that there is another voice. We cannot let that voice be silenced. The voice that says, don't demolish, build. This week's Torah portion, Parshat Truma, in it we read for the first time about the Mishkan, which is translated very unhelpfully as the tabernacle. I love when Hebrew words are translated into English words that I also don't know what they mean. Basically, it was a temporary temple that the ancient Israelites rebuilt at every stop along the way during their wanderings in the wilderness after they were freed from Egypt. The Torah explicitly states that no work related to the construction of the Mishkan could be done on Shabbat. And so the rabbis inferred from this that the type of work that was prohibited on Shabbat, when it says you shall rest, was creative, constructive work, the type of work that it took to build the Mishkan. Which is why today many Jews, myself included, cease from doing creative, constructive acts each week on Shabbat. The idea is simple and profound at the same time. 6 days a week we strive to be a constructive force in the world, and then 1 day a week on Shabbat we allow our creative drive to rest and allow the world to just be as it is. But the rabbis pose an interesting question. What about engaging in a destructive act on Shabbat? On the one hand, it's definitely not allowing the world to just be as it is, but on the other hand, it's not technically a creative or a constructive act and therefore should be permitted. The rabbis rule, I kind of want to take a poll, but I'm just going to spoil it for you, that you can destroy on Shabbat. As we read in Kohelet, Ecclesiastes, Eitz lifrotz veit livnot, There's a time for tearing down and a time for building. If 6 days of the week is the time for building, then the rabbis allow Shabbat to be a time for tearing down. We are living in a time of tearing down. How much damage will we have to endure? How many lives will be ruined as a result of this destruction? How long will this go on? This past weekend, I saw the movie Nickel Boys, nominated for Best Picture at this Sunday's upcoming Oscars. And it includes a famous clip by Dr. Martin Luther King's speech in 1965 in which he says, "However difficult the moment, however frustrating the hour, it will not be long, because truth crushed to the earth will rise again. How long, not long, because no lie can live forever. How long, not long, because you shall reap what you sow." Dr. King is right. A wrecking ball loses momentum. The urge to flatten eventually falls flat. Forces of destruction eventually destroy themselves. We will not live forever in the devastation. On Friday nights, as part of the Lecha Dodi prayer that we just sang, we say the words, "Kumi tzei mitocha hafecha," arise, come forth from the upheaval. That word, hafecha, the upheaval, I think it's the perfect word to describe what we are going through right now. And the voice of that prayer, inviting us to arise and leave the upheaval, that is the constructive voice that we cannot lose, despite all the destruction around us. We cannot stay in the hafecha. That word is connected to the central theme of the upcoming holiday of Purim, v'nahafochu, turn it upside down. Jews know destruction. Jews know times of upheaval. But that has never stopped us from celebrating Purim. In fact, the wisdom of Purim may very well be what has helped us endure those times of upheaval. The story and the message of Purim, which I encourage you all to read, it's in the scroll of Esther, the book of Esther in the Hebrew Bible. The story and message of it is that everything can get turned upside down. Nothing is stable. A Persian empire that is friendly to the Jews can suddenly call for their annihilation. That instability of the world is discomforting, to say the least. But it is equally comforting when viewed from another angle. Just as things can change for the worse, so too things can change for the better. Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, a famous Hasidic rabbi from the late 18th century, once wrote, "If you believe that it's possible to break, then believe that it's possible to repair." On Purim, we turn everything upside down to remind ourselves that everything can be overturned. We do not know the outcome. Like in Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar's hypothetical scenario, even voices that call for destruction may end up leading to constructive outcomes, whether intentionally or not. The rabbis who allowed destructive acts on Shabbat, they didn't allow destructive acts that lead to creation. Destruction is not the inevitable outcome, even of a destructive act. The voices that say, demolish, don't build, they do not have the final word. We are living through a very difficult moment right now. It is a moment of upheaval, but it will not last, not long. Let's not lose sight of what we hope to build. The time for building will be here soon. Shabbat Shalom.